Jay. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. Jay, Stongo, Gary 5, Jaho, Jeff Ghettos. Mvskoke Radio, Mabo Hedget, Owedjigas. We've got a lot of stuff to share with you on today's program. This month is a popular month for programs and events to declare their observances. We've got a couple of those today, and including Earth Day. So we'll talk first with a crew from the Family Violence Program about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And following that, we'll be speaking with Program Manager there with the Promoting Safe and Stable Families Program about Child Abuse Awareness Month. And then finally, we've got Earth Day coming up. We have the Environmental Services people coming in to talk about their activities for the month. So, since we've got so much to go, we want to welcome Sean Partridge and Tanya Barden to our program. Thank you all for coming in today. Did I get that right, by the way? Tanya?
Tanya.
I don't know why it is. Tanya, I guess. Yeah, Tanya. Well, thank you all for coming in.
Thank you for having us, Gary.
Now, this has actually become an annual event for you to come down and join us in this particular topic. Now, since we've been this route before, let's walk that familiar road. And tell me a little bit about your program. Give me a capsule of your mission, your service population, and your goals there.
Sure. Good morning, and thank you for having us again, Gary. And the Family Violence Prevention Program, we provide a variety of advocacy and supportive services to victims and survivors of domestic and sexual violence, dating violence, stalking, and also sex trafficking. So really, we're there to be a support for people that have experienced those victimizations. We provide a variety of services just based on what each individual's needs are. That could be anything from always includes safety planning, but court advocacy. We have a new SANE program, which provides sexual assault nurse examinations for victims and survivors of sexual violence, and really just a variety of services to meet the needs of those impacted by violence.
Now, Tanya, what is it that you focus on now?
Pretty much all of it.
All of it, like she said.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're funded by numerous grants, but we all work together to provide those services. So it is a collaborative.
We raise our glass.
Okay. Our ghost in the computer is still with us today, I see. Anyway, we have often asked you about the problem, about the size of it, the numbers, this kind of thing. Have any of these things ever changed? I mean, with the awareness that we work on promoting, has that had any impact, or are you still struggling against a rising tide?
Obviously our numbers have increased, and they continue to increase. Back in 2009, we served 54 victims, and then last year for 2016, we served 391. So, some people, I think they'll find that those dramatic increases alarming and think, oh my gosh, that's a bad thing. We always talk about that being a good thing, that we have those increases in numbers, because we know that the promotion that we have done about our program and services, the awareness events and activities, the community education, that is making sure, and all with the intention that people know who to call, where to go to get the support and assistance that they need. Just because, again, back in 2009, when we had only served 54 victims in a year, that didn't mean that there was less domestic or sexual violence occurring. It just meant that at the time, people really didn't know where they could go to get help.
Now, the occurrences of these incidents, where are they happening? From working with your clients, are they telling stories of these things happening in a domestic setting, like at home? Are they happening out in like a parking lot, someone attacking them, a stranger? Have you all ever determined where these things are coming from?
Speaking in the context of sexual assault, primarily what we know is that most sexual assaults occur in an individual's home or a place that they're acquainted with. The myth of the stranger rape, don't get me wrong, stranger rape does occur, but that is not the common. The common rape is unfortunately an acquaintance or a family or friend, someone you do know. So oftentimes it is in a place that you are comfortable, which is your home or a family or friend's home. It isn't the alley stories that we used to hear, you know, the dark alley, the stranger, the person you don't know. That's what makes sexual assault so difficult, is because the victim survivor knows that person, and that's what makes it so challenging for the community also to understand, because a lot of times it's our family and it's our friend, and so we don't see that person as a perpetrator, and that's why I believe it's so difficult for people to kind of see this for what it is, and we'd rather believe the myth that it's a stranger, that it's somebody we don't know, because we can handle that. It's very hard to accept that it really could be somebody we know.
That has a lot of bearing, as you say there, on the numbers that you see and people coming in seeking help. Now, is it still we're facing that, well, that was a cousin or that was an uncle or an aunt or somebody that did this deed, and so I don't want to get them in trouble, or I'm afraid to, or what are you all hearing there?
Family, I think, is the second highest number. I think the first is an acquaintance, friend, could be boyfriend, but absolutely. There is still some reservation, but I think the greatest reservation is not being believed. People fear, and sadly, oftentimes so, because again, we are so afraid, the myth that people are lying, not telling the truth about rape, and that's not true, that it's not falsely reported at high rates like you often hear. It's no more falsely reported than any other crime. I think it's accentuated because of the type of crime and because of people's misunderstanding of sexual assault, but absolutely. And there are times that people don't want to maybe get someone in trouble, or they're not sure how it's going to impact that other person. They really may care. I mean, that's the thing, especially when it's a child or a youth, and it's a family or friend. They don't understand what has happened to them and that person. That's that grooming that takes place, but as they become an adult, realizing that was really wrong. So it is hard. I mean, reporting is hard no matter what, but I would say the greatest barrier is really being believed.
Let me ask you all I guess, who are the people who are the most targeted? I would assume it's women. Is there a particular age group or relationship or something that you've noticed or put down in your statistics?
I think while we certainly haven't identified a specific population of people that are at risk in terms of our experience and the victims that we're working with, because Gary, I mean, we are serving families whose children have been impacted by child sexual abuse. We have children as young as 2, 3, 4 that we have been providing assistance to and advocacy. Children who have been sexually abused, all the way up to elders that have suffered sexual violence as well. We are providing services to predominantly women and girls, but also we have provided assistance to male victims of sexual violence. So we are serving a whole range of individuals that have been impacted.
Has the Violence Against Women Act made any difference yet? I know it takes time to get it set up in the legal system and the structure and things like that. It's been hailed as a turning point, among other things, but have you heard, know of some impact there?
Absolutely. In the Mvskoke Creek Nation, we have worked between our program, the Office of the Attorney General, the District Court, and with our Light Horse Tribal Police Department to take the steps necessary so that we could fully implement the provisions provided under the VAWA 2013 reauthorization. Myself, Shelley Harrison, the prosecutor, and Judge Bigler were just in Arizona last week for a meeting held with Department of Justice officials, members from the National Congress of American Indians, and then tribes throughout the nation who are working to revise codes, make changes necessary to implementing those provisions which allow us now, and our tribe, Mvskoke Creek Nation, we have fully implemented and now are able to hold non-natives accountable. And again, it's a very small scope as far as that criminal jurisdiction, but which does allow us now to hold some non-natives who hold who commit crimes of domestic violence, dating violence, or violations of protective orders on tribal lands. So we have implemented that and are ready when those crimes occur. We'll be ready to handle those and respond to those. But it is important to note, again, that's a small scope of criminal jurisdiction, and it does not apply to non-natives who commit crimes of sexual violence.
I was wondering then, have any of these gone to prosecution or anything yet?
Not yet, not for us at Mvskoke Creek Nation. Definitely there has been great success across the nation by a number of tribes who have implemented and who have filed charges and had successful outcomes in many cases.
What do you all have scheduled for the observance for this month? What kind of programs have you got going?
Well, today we're actually going to hold some quilt workshops. Come tomorrow, our main event for April, being Sexual Assault Awareness, is the Monument Quilt, which is the Monument Quilt is a collection of thousands of stories from survivors of rape and abuse that have been stitched together, and it's really impactful. To be honest, when somebody says Monument Quilt, I wouldn't know what that would mean. It wouldn't mean much to me but a quilt. However, when you understand that those are people's stories that they have taken time to either write or through pictures, it's kind of like art therapy, that they could use this as an opportunity to use art. They can draw, they can tell their story just in words, however they so desire. And when you walk through, and the Monument Quilt has grown significantly, I'm not sure the size, but I would say it'd fill up most stadium football fields, if not more than one. But so as you walk through, you're impacted by these stories. And I think what people do is we really disconnect if we think it hasn't happened to me or I don't really know somebody. But the truth is it really does impact us as a community. And I think if people would take the time to kind of come out and see, they, number one, would be impacted and moved by the stories, and then understand the need. We need everyone to be involved in the awareness of sexual assault and really to help start by believing. So the quilt workshops that we're holding today, we have two different opportunities, one from 3 to 4:30 and one from 6 to 7:30 at Elderly Nutrition, is an opportunity for survivors, family members, and community members to come and create a quilt square. We will have all the material there. Again, they can use markers, they can draw a picture, they can write out a story. Just come. If they don't want to participate, just come see what it's about. It's an opportunity to learn about our program, but it's just a way to bring awareness. The goal is to get the community involved and to understand that really we have a role to play in this, because one day they could be a juror, and to understand the impact that sexual assault has not only on the survivor but on our community as a whole. So the Monument Quilt was just a unique way to do that, and again, it's very impactful, having gone through it 2 years ago as far as walk through and see the growth. It's sad, but it's amazing. Like I said, it truly is impactful.
Now, when you first hear of something like this, I guess my first impression was remembering these huge American flags they roll out on a football field or something. But it's not quite the same. It's a lot of segments that are laid out separately, and each have these unique stories upon them, right?
Absolutely. And as Tanya had said, I mean, it has grown in size from when we originally hosted it 2 years ago. And what is so powerful about the Monument Quilt is that its focus and its purpose is to help create create and demand a public space for people to heal. It resists the popular and narrow narrative of how sexual violence occurs, and it's working to build a culture, a new culture, where survivors are publicly supported instead of publicly shamed. I mean, that, and kind of going back to what Tanya had mentioned, reasons that people often don't want to come forward and report that they've been sexually assaulted is because we can see in the media, in society, how victims are re-victimized often once they do. Immediately, their credibility is questioned. What they were doing, what they were drinking, how they were dressed, how they were behaving, all of those things come into question. And so yes, I mean, the stories are real. Some of them, I mean, just very difficult to read, and it's hard to not go through there and not experience some sort of emotion. And also, what's really important to mention is that it features the stories of survivors of sexual abuse, child abuse, domestic violence. There are honorings and tributes and remembrances for missing and murdered women. So it really focuses on a whole range of victimizations that have impacted people.
Okay, in the last couple of minutes we have here, what else have you got planned for this observance?
Well, tomorrow again, and we've posted the proposed layout for the quilt on our Facebook page so that people, again, like Tanya had mentioned, if you're not familiar with the quilt and have no idea what to expect, it's hard to imagine just how powerful and magnificent it is. And so we are praying for good weather tomorrow. Regardless, the event will carry on, but obviously, if due to weather, if that's going to be a factor tomorrow, and the Monument Quilt staff decide, again, they don't want to take any chance for the quilt to be damaged in any way. So if we have to move indoors, we will do so right there at the dome. And again, it doesn't have the space to lay the quilt like it would be outside, but regardless, it will be, I mean, an amazing and powerful event. We will have t-shirts for participants while supplies last. We've also posted a picture of those on our program Facebook and the event page. And so that is scheduled to occur tomorrow from 10 until 2. And so we're inviting everybody to come out. It's open to the public. And we want to see people there to help us change the culture and bring attention and accountability for perpetrators of violence, those that do harm, and support for people who have been victimized.
If anyone wanted to call you for help, what's your number?
Yeah, so we can be reached at 918-732-7979, and we're available 24/7. After hours, they can call that number. There's always an advocate available. If it's not an emergency and they call after hours, we'd probably just let them know we'll call back, or they can call back during business hours, which is 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, but we can again be reached 24 hours a day at that number.
Okay, thank you, Tanya and Sean. We appreciate you all coming in. We wish you the best of luck with this event and that the weather holds up. I'm going to have to come see this quilt myself. So.
Yes, please come out. Thank you so much, Gary.
Okay, we'll take a short pause here and then be back with Stephanie Ellis, the program manager for Promoting Safe and Stable Families, to talk about Child Abuse Awareness Month. So please stay with us here on 1240 The Brew.
Hi, this is Javon Gouge with your Information from the Nation Minute. The blue ribbon is the international symbol for child abuse prevention, and April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Please join the Mvskoke Creek Nation in wearing blue ribbons during the month to remind us that we all have a responsibility in helping to protect our children. April 23rd to the 29th is also Week of the Young Child. The Mvskoke Creek Nation Head Start program and the Child Development Centers participate each year by marching in the Week of the Young Child Parade held in the historic downtown Okmulgee. Come celebrate the gift of children and honor those who have devoted their lives to their training and well-being. Our children are our future and the hope for a better tomorrow. For more information for upcoming events or other services provided by the Mvskoke Creek Nation, please visit our website at mcn-nsn.gov. I'm Jabon Gouge, and this has been your Information from the Nation Minute. Mado.
Okay, as I said in the intro, we've got a busy show here today. Coming in now for our second segment, we have Stephanie Ellis, who is the program manager for the Promoting Safe and Stable Families program here at the Tribe. And this is Child Abuse Awareness Month. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes, sir, that is correct. So child abuse prevention, our mission is to promote the health and safety to children and families by reducing the child abuse and neglect through direct services and conducting activities to educate the public about child maltreatment and enhance the infrastructure that supports the prevention efforts.
Has your program compiled any statistics about the size of the problem, or do you have an estimate, kind of a feel for what kind of challenge you're facing?
We do not have any specific statistics, or I do not have those on hand. Now, I will say, one of our activities that we just previously held for the Blue Ribbon Tree, we currently have 371 children that we have served. So considering that, along with the number of clients that we serve for promoting safe and stable families, that ratio doesn't add up. So we do know that there are families that could benefit from our services, but are reluctant to proceed or to contact us.
Maybe we should take a second here and kind of define the subject here,
Okay.
child abuse, like how we just had the folks from the Sexual Assault Awareness Month program talk about that, which it does include children and being sexually assaulted, but I assume that's part of it. But
Right.
what else might fall under the heading of child abuse?
Well, so child abuse can affect multiple factors. So certainly it's not confined to any particular socioeconomic class or race or ethnicity or religion. So it could occur with parents who were themselves abused, or teenage parents, or parental or family substance abuse, if there's depression involved, any family violence, unemployment, even just parents who lack the knowledge of child development and the children's needs.
No, we hear in the news about these horrible stories of parents leaving their child neglected, no food, not taking care of them, living in horribly filthy, unhygienic conditions.
Right.
Is this like the majority of what you have to deal with, or is it children being beaten and other terrible things like that? What do you see?
Well, as far as our program within the Promoting Safe and Stable Families, now the way we receive our clients, we do have referrals from child welfare and the state child welfare office. But now we do have some that are self-referrals. So once they get to our program, there are a few that have some severe issues where abuse has occurred, where it's physical, where there's beating or hitting or, spanking excessively. But for our program, for the most part, it's some neglect, just not knowing their basic needs. So food, clothing, or shelter, if those are not adequate, and they're not aware. Some families are not aware of those concerns just because of the way they were brought up.
So this is kind of almost a self-perpetuating situation.
Right. Yeah.
And what kind of services then do you offer when you get a client like this, a young child who needs help? What kind of things can you help them with?
Yes, so our program, we provide supportive or preventative services to our clients. And that might include some educational resources, which could be relating to stress management, some budgeting, because a lot of our families, when they come to our services, they're lacking, whether it's clothing for their children or food for their kids, anything of that nature. So just still dealing with the basic needs. So we will assist with limited financial assistance for those families that do qualify for that service. But we also provide like transportation. So if we have a family that is needing to get their children to the doctor's appointment, we do provide that service. And we are a home-based service. So let me clarify, we are a home-based service, case management. So we work around our clients' schedule. So if they work 8 to 5, we will meet around their schedule. So if it has to be after hours or after 5 or on a weekend, we will meet them at that time.
Now, you mentioned financial support. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, their ears perk up and say, oh boy, free money.
Right.
But that's not the case, is it?
Absolutely not. So with that, once they come through our program, because I probably should clarify that as well, because we do have our social services department that are able to, assist with financial needs almost like on an emergency basis, but that's not what our services entails, because we are a case management, which means that we'll have to send a caseworker out to complete an assessment, and that's just basically determining what the family's needs are and how we might be able to meet their needs. And so once the caseworker completes their assessment, then the caseworker, along with the client, will develop a service plan. So it's a list of goals for the client to meet, and how the caseworker might be able to assist that client meet those goals.
Do you have any numbers or any feel for the size of your service population? I mean, the number of kids and families that you can have helped rather.
Well, I know that total number varies for each year. I know it can range from like 150 clients per year to, like right now we have approximately 50 families that we have serviced. So it just ranges. But I think, considering with the number of children that we do have coming through our child welfare office, I know that, there are families out there that could benefit from our services, but I think they're reluctant to seek out because of the fear of losing their children, or, just having the fear of our involvement, thinking that we might report. Now, I will say that we are required to report, abuse or neglect, but in that same token, that's the reason why we're here, is to help provide those services to those families to prevent that type of situation happening.
Now, when you say report, you're talking about contacting law enforcement, something like that?
Yes. We will contact our law enforcement, and we do have our CPS worker there at the tribe, and so she will also be notified, and she will also go out and do her investigation. So in terms of reporting, now that's not saying that there is an issue or those facts are present. It's just merely saying that when we make a report, we want to make sure that our children are safe. And so it could be more of just having a worker go out and identify, if it is a true instance of abuse or neglect, or, if it's a single instance of, just not having adequate food. We might, of course, with our services, we would be able to assist in that area of need. But with that, if they have a lack of food, we would try to seek out other services that might be able to offset, when they're not able to meet, when they don't have enough. And that would be like, food stamps, or is it commodities? So certainly we would help them reach out to those agencies, but also we would also go over their budget to see if is it a matter of how they're managing their funds.
Do you have any numbers or statistics that might point to the size of the problem that you're facing there? How many people, anything like that?
I know there are statistics, but I know I do not have those on hand. Yeah.
But in your field, is it big? Is it small? Is it
In our field, currently, I would probably rate it small, but certainly it could be larger.
And each case, of course, is important. So
Right.
even one is too many, right?
Yes, absolutely. When we're looking at our children, because we want the best for our children,
Of course.
and in order to provide them with that opportunity, you have to start with the parent, and provide them with those resources. And an additional resource that we provide as far as education is parenting. And so a lot of our families do get intimidated by when we recommend parenting, because that's not to say they don't know how to parent, but every child is different and they learn differently. So we're able to provide the different skill sets or techniques, for the parents to utilize with their child, because not one technique is going to work for every child.
So you get, I think you have to deal with the natural reaction of people saying, well, I know how to raise a kid. You can't tell
Right.
me how to do this. But,
Yes.
well, maybe you might want to try this too.
Right. Yeah.
The observance you're looking at right now is a part of a national observance, I understand.
Yes.
And what kinds of things have you got lined up for the month?
Well, I will start with the activities that we've completed so far, and that was on the 4th. We had our Build a Blue Ribbon Tree, and we could not have done that without Arbor Care, so I would like to recognize the Mvskoke Creek Nation Arbor Care for assisting us with that project, because we've actually decorated 3 trees. One was over here at the council house, and one was at our office, and then there's another one that we decorated, and that's at the entrance of the tribal complex. Now, those blue ribbons that we placed on those trees represent the children that we have served, and that was the number of 371.
Oh my
And that
gosh.
was held on the 4th, yes. And then on the 7th, we held Wear Blue, and we had our people that participated to take a picture or a selfie and send it to us, and we posted it on our Facebook for recognition. Yes, and then so our big event, that would be held on April the 21st at 10:30, and that would be held at the Mound Auditorium, and that is for a child abuse prevention event.
What is involved with that event?
Okay, so during that event, we actually will have Project Launch assisting us. They will be providing a training, and that would be over Harvey Karp's The Happiest Baby on the Block. And he teaches the 5 S's. And that includes like how to swaddle, decide as far as the position, the side and stomach, just shushing, but not the shushing in a sense that we're trying to make them hush. It's just the sound of when we say shh, that calms the baby, and the swinging and the baby's ability to suck their finger or a pacifier. And but what he suggests is that the babies are born a trimester too early. So he talks about the 4th trimester, because when babies are born, they still have needs. And so when they're born, they still need to be swaddled. They still need to be shushed, because when they're in the utero, it's really loud. And so they need those calming effects. They still need that environment, the resemblance of that environment as much as possible.
If someone was interested in getting more information on your event this month, or in particular finding themselves in need of perhaps some support and this sort of thing, how do people get a hold of you?
Yes, so they can contact us by calling Children and Family Services, and that number is 918-732-7869. And I will say that we do have clients that call in as self-referrals that have identified a need, that could benefit from services. So, and we do encourage that. So if they have any concerns or would like additional parenting skills or budgeting or just going over some stress management techniques, or if they're, grieving, we can certainly help through that process, because we want our families and our parents to be as healthy as possible to be the best that they can be for their children.
Okay, once again, your Happiest Baby on the Block event is on Friday, April 21st at the Mound Auditorium.
Yes.
10:30 to 12:30, and an apparel item and a box lunch is part of it.
Yes, sir. So with that, we will be providing a pullover as well as a boxed lunch for the participants that are able to stay for the whole event. So when they arrive, they will register, fill out a pre-survey, and then they will be provided with a post-survey to provide us in order to receive their pullover and their lunch.
All right. Wonderful. Stephanie Ellis, thank you so much for sharing this information with you. We hope that you'll have a full house there on the 21st to observe your event. So thank you again, Madhu.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll take another pause here, and we'll be back with the crew from Environmental Services. They're going to talk about the Mvskoke Creek Nation's observance of Earth Day. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew.
Hi, this is Jabon Gouge with your information from the Nation Minute. The Mvskoke Creek Nation National Council will hold their quarterly session along with Principal Chief James R. Floyd giving his quarterly report on Saturday, April 29th at 10 a.m. in the MCN Mound Auditorium. Remember that if you are unable to attend, please go to our website and click on the link to view the meeting live. At 11:30 or following the quarterly session meeting in front of the Mound Building, the Mvskoke Youth Council is hosting a Vietnam Veteran Parade. This parade is to honor all in-country Vietnam veterans and giving them a welcome home they deserve. For more information on upcoming events or other services provided by the Mvskoke Creek Nation, please visit our website at mcn-nsn.gov. I'm Jabon Gouge, and this has been your information from the Nation Minute. Meadow.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew. Joining us in the studio are James Williams and Joe Harper from Environmental Services, and they're here to talk about the tribe's annual observance of Earth Day, and that's become quite a popular event and really a lot more important each year as it grows. Mr. Williams, would you say so?
Sure. Good morning. Thanks for having us on. This is our third annual Earth Day cleanup. It's going to be April 21st, 2017 here, and be next Friday. We're looking for a good turnout. We are offering, if you register early, you'll get a free T-shirt. And last year we had about 75 volunteers, and it went really well last year. So we were well pleased with the results of the Earth Day cleanup.
Right. I think April's become the T-shirt giveaway month, too.
Yeah.
Everyone has their event planned for April, but they don't give T-shirts, and that's usually pretty cool. Mr. Hooper, what is it that you do on this particular occasion? How do you pitch in there?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me, too. I work at the Recycle Center. What I do is I process everything that we collect throughout the Creek Nation, as well as some of our communities also.
Then you get to see all the stuff that gets brought in for the recycling there?
Yes, I get to see it firsthand.
Oh, boy. Just a wonderful view there. Well, tell me, how are we doing? How's the tribe doing? Is it kind of taken this subject to heart? Do you see large numbers of materials coming in? Does it grow? What do you got?
I think we have a little bit better participation than we have in the past. There's been more citizens and employees showing up at the center, and asking more questions on what we do and how we do it, and how they would like for us to, receive their recyclable materials.
Mm-hmm. Now, James, the event is in its third year now. Why is this so important that we observe this?
Well, it's in honor of Earth Day, and I think us being the Native Americans that we are, we need to be good stewards of the earth and the resources, and if we can help clean some of that up, I think that's what we need to do our part. We've done other things for Earth Day. We planted some trees one year and had a few educational outreaches, but this makes a pretty good impact on a community. They see us out actually doing something, picking up trash, making it more beautiful. We're in kind of in concordance with keeping Oklahoma beautiful, and we pair up with the Okmulgee County Conservation District with Miss Jennifer Bailey down there, and we've partnered together for about the last 3 years. So she brings a group also with her, some volunteers, and then we have our volunteers, and so together it's about working together for a common goal. To clean up Okmulgee and the loop is usually what we clean up. Last year we branched out and did a little bit of 75 and over on Box Avenue, but I think we're going to just focus on just the loop. We start at the college, that's our staging area, and we work our way back toward the complex and back toward the Morris Highway. And we really have some good groups that really work hard at that. I do have to give some kudos to a couple people, though, that actually help us out. It's the MCN Emergency Management Group, because they do the escorting for our volunteers as they go along the highway. The Mvskoke Creek Nation Light Horse Group, Mr. Dennis Northcross and his group, because they also escort and have lights on, and boy, they did a fantastic job last year. Mvskoke Creek Nation Food Distribution, Miss Ann Sterner, she always loans us a van or whatever we need and brings water. And the college, the Mvskoke Nation College, that's our staging area, and we use their people mover too to move some people around. That's always good. And our Mvskoke Creek Nation Fleet with Shane Hullaby, and he lets us use some he usually send a couple drivers and a couple vehicles to shovel people back and forth to the areas, and that's good. And of course, Mvskoke Creek Nation environmental staff, because that's one day all our staff has to pitch in and help that day. So it's a pretty big help.
You out there cracking the whip on them then?
Yeah, no, not too bad.
Not too bad.
We just say everybody's going to help.
Now, is the majority of your volunteers, that they come from the tribe, are they tribal employees?
I would say out of the 75, about 50 of them are.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about 50 of them are, and we thank the departments for letting those people off for that time. Depends on your department manager. You can get annual or whatever leave that you need to do, but it's like I say, we start at 1 o'clock at the college and start signing up, and then we'll start dispersing to our groups about 1:30. For about 2 hours, and then we'll come back to the recycle center, have a few prize giveaways. We give the prize for the oddest piece of trash that's picked up.
Oh my!
And last year, I believe the winner, we had 2 winners, didn't we? Last year,
winners,
one of them was an outdoor umbrella, a patio umbrella that blew out of somebody's truck, and couldn't believe it. They picked it up and threw it in the truck. I was like, "Where'd you guys find that?" I said, "Out by the casino." Somebody just. And then what was the other object that came up, Joe?
I don't really recall what it was. I knew there was a snake. That
Yeah.
was picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we always find a snake or
Yeah,
two,
so-
you know.
I'm going to hope those are non-poisonous.
Yeah, that's true. And then we have to give kudos to the other the Mvskoke Creek Nation departments that do allow their employees to help us out with their volunteering and our Earth Day cleanup efforts, but also the departments that donate our door prizes for our late lunch that we have out there at the recycle center. Some of them will donate some bags or some really nice coolers or koozies, and we get some tourism and PR department and stuff. They usually will donate some items, and we appreciate that.
I used to do this with the electric utility in Anchorage. We took citywide, and they challenged each other and kind of things like that. But they also had a contest for the strangest item that's found. And I remember one year somebody found a gun.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Really?
semi-automatic. Somebody tossed it in there.
We did find some drug paraphernalia. And,
Yikes,
And
yikes.
it was a deal where it looked like somebody might have got stopped and they just threw it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we
Yeah,
gave it to the light horse.
Yeah,
Rubber
rubber gloves and the whole thing.
Yeah. So.
My gosh. Now, Joe, can you tell me how much gets collected again? We were looking at this and kind of wondering, well, how does the tribe, really respond? It's very positive from what we hear, but is there a figure for the amount of stuff that gets collected?
Last year, I believe we had around 2,500 pounds of, actually, let me correct myself, that was 3,500 pounds of shredded paper. We've had Green Country Shredding Company come in from 9 to 12, like James said, and the people from the offices and as well as the public, if you had anything that needed to be destroyed as far as that goes, that was the place to do it. So last year we had about 3,500 pounds of shredded paper, and electronics we had probably between 1,500 to 2,000 pounds, give or take some, because we also had some odd objects in there that did not recycle. But that's part of the job that I do. You have to sift through it and see what recycles and what can be reused or re-put out to the community as needed.
Now, you mentioned recycling a lot of different items. That's part of the observance for the day is a call for recycling of a number of objects.
Yes, that's what it's about. It's the only day set aside for for the purpose of recycling. I looked up some information on it here, and it says 1 billion people will get involved this year. 1 billion people will get involved this year.
That's great.
So that's just a beginning, I would say.
Well, James, Joe had mentioned a couple of items there, but what will you be collecting, or what is eligible for recycling that day?
Oh, we're gonna collect all kinds of paper, and we are gonna have shredding in the morning, like we say, from 9 to noon at the recycle center. We're gonna take electronics, but our electronics are like old TVs, the ones that doesn't have the wood cabinets on them. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got the old TVs that just weigh real heavy.
Yeah.
We've had a few too, and we were late in the game about getting the flat screens because I hate to throw anything away, and so we'll take those old TVs. A lot of them still work. A lot of people will tell us that these TVs still work, and they will tape the remote on there. And then in that case, we try to find a repurpose for them, like a nursing home or something, somebody that may not have a TV. Our goal here is, and here's our goal at the recycle center, if we can find a reuse for something, we will find a reuse for it. And then we want to reduce the items that we use, but if nothing else, we'll recycle it. So that's kind of our theme, is we're looking for a reuse, we want to reduce, and if not, we'll try to recycle it. But we're going to take, like I say, we'll take plastics 1s and 2s. We'll take the shredded paper and the electronics within reason. We don't take any white goods. We don't take washers or dryers or anything that's got Freon. We don't take any white goods like that. We're just not set up to take a bunch of appliances, so we just don't take that. But we used to take anything that had a cord on it, but our vendor has quit doing that, so we can't take it now. And so it's basically monitors, towers, computer, electronic items, like we will take some phones, or we'll take a DVD player. Somebody has an old console, PlayStation don't work or something, we'll take stuff like that. But we've got to be a little more diligent on what we're taking now.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. There are all kinds of paper, and you don't accept everything, do you?
No, we don't accept everything. We'd like to deal in, the office paper, because that's the easiest to work with. Newspaper, we'll take newspaper. That mixes in with our cardboard, chipboard, which is your cigarette cartons, cereal cartons, small packaging. So,
But if it's like old pizza boxes and greasy stuff, you don't want to see it.
correct. They say the grease hinders the recycling process, and it's, just considered trash pretty much after that. And like I said, that's kind of the issue. We have do's and don'ts, and some things some things you don't, and a lot of people don't understand why. It's the reason why we have to do it that way, and that's just what they asked for. They tell us how to do it, and we try to follow suit.
Now, I'm going to presume that includes things like styrofoam and other things. And you don't want to see somebody's garbage, right?
Right,
Correct.
right. We want to be able to recycle.
Okay.
So we don't take any glass. We don't have the containers for glass, or really have a vendor. So that's the main thing is you got to have a vendor to take your items to. So if we don't have a vendor for it, we'd love to collect the. As you look on the bottom of your bottles or your cups, you'll see the arrows there, the recycle arrows, and then you'll see a number inside there. We collect all 1s and 2s, but we don't have a vendor for 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 9. So we don't have that. The bigger cities have a bigger market for it. They collect the red Solo cups, which is popular in everybody's house, but it's a number 7, and that means the content of that cup has some items in there that doesn't break down as easy. So it's the process and is always harder to recycle a red Solo cup. Mm-hmm. But if we had a vendor, trust me, we would recycle those because that's some hard plastic.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a real difference, so people just can't dump everything.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a gentleman call us, and he was a farmer, and he wanted to recycle the plastic troughs that he had that he used for feed for his cows. And he said, James, they just got stepped on and broke. Can't use them anymore. Can you guys recycle them? I said, well, I don't know. Let me check. But, man, the plastic on that was so thick, it would take, you'd have to heat that up so much to even melt that down. It was like a 9 or 10.
Gosh.
And they said that's the toughest plastic right there. It's almost, So we just don't have a vendor for that.
It takes the whole cow to break that one up.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What other events are you conducting that day? I mean, you've got a kind of a program there, right?
Right, we're gonna show off some of our rain barrels that we have going. We're trying to get some rain barrels out. We're trying to get somebody on staff that'll implement them, that we can put our rain barrels out. We do have a little compost pile there. We're going to start doing some educational outreach for compost for the communities. We're going to start putting up some raised garden beds or flower beds. We want to get that out to the community to show them how those are made and how they can take care of them. So that's something else that we'll have over there too. But our main thing is the recycling that day and then the cleanup that day. So, but we have several other little projects going too, though.
Sure. Let me ask you about those rain barrels, though. When I heard that, I had visions of an old cabin with some kind of little gutter on it going into this barrel at the corner. I guess that's for what, drinking water or whatever else? Is that kind of what you have in mind?
Right. The object of our rain barrels is that to put on the buildings around the tribe, and then if we have some landscaping by there, we'll catch the runoff from the roof down to the downspouts on the guttering, and then onto the barrel, and then we'll hook a hose up there and a spigot, and they'll be able to use that water to water the plants around the buildings and whatnot. So that way you don't have to drag that hose everywhere. You can just have a barrel right there and use it as it fills up. We do have a rain garden now over there by the Light Horse Administration Building, and that's where we're going to put a couple rain barrels over there to keep the rain garden watered. And so that's kind of our idea, is to set some of these out, the different places around the complex and and over at the housing building. So that's next up. That's our project this summer.
Do you have any connections with a national observance, or do you coordinate with a group like that at all?
We do. We work with the staff at EPA, and they're fully on board with us about doing these projects because they want more projects like this to capture rainwater and to actually use it. There's some places that in the United States that don't like you doing that, capturing rainwater, but the places out west would love to capture it because it's so dry out there, and it's almost getting dry here. So we need to catch all we can instead of it just letting it run off and run into a ditch or down a drain, stormwater drain. So if we can capture that water and then reuse it for plants or some type of activity that would have vegetables or something like that. That's our goal.
It sounds like kind of a wonderful thing to do. It's like you can capture this natural resource
That's
and
right.
return it.
And use it. Capture it and use it.
Recycle it.
Yeah, recycle that. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of our projects coming up here. So we're enthused about that.
Well, you say the word projects. What else have you got on your agenda there?
Well, we've like you say, we've got some educational outreach coming up. We've got the festival coming up. Joe usually does the Woody Guthrie Festival. Joe, I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we got the Woody Guthrie Festival coming up. It's in July. It varies on the weekends. It just depends what day his birthday falls on. But last year we worked with them and set up and helped collect cardboard and some plastics. And I believe last year we had about 854 pounds of cardboard. This is a 4-day event, and that's pretty good, I would say, collecting cardboard. It was everything that they had for vendors. And we collected around 200 pounds of plastic that was recyclable. We probably collected more than that, but as we was talking, some of the materials that come in tainted and used up, and we really don't want to sift through people's trash per se.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for recyclables, clean recyclables, but we will clean them out if we have to. But our preference is to have clean recyclables.
Sure. Now, my wife is very strong in this effort herself. She rinses out all the cans that we use and separates them and makes me take them out and things like that. But that's the kind of thing you're talking about is, if you can clean them up before you put them in your bin or in your bag, then that's what you want to see.
Right. It's a culture change, Mr. Gary, because if we can get the younger kids started, they're used to it. It's kind of hard to get people my age and older to recycle like they should. Some will do if it's available. If it's not available to them, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to go out of their way. So, but we're trying to change the culture a little bit, starting in elementary and middle school and high school, to get them used to the blue bins. We can set some blue bins, and we've got blue bins about everywhere through the nation, and there's not a day go by we're having to dig some trash out of it because people just walk by and they'll throw a styrofoam cup in there that's about half drank or got ice or lid in it and a straw, and or throw some type of trash in there. So we have to clean that out.
I know that I've got one of those bins near my door in my office.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while I'll come by and find somebody's pop bottle or something like that in there.
Yeah.
Come on, folks.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got to get going, so thank you guys so much for coming down and sharing this. We wish you a lot of success and hope that nobody finds a snake this year.
Mado.
And we thank you for having us so much. Mado.
Nga. Thank you for listening to Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Road. We'll be back next week. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.